Hello, everyone. Welcome back. So, you now are officially 2/3 of the way through the course, and we are into our last topic, which now finally we get to start talking about chemistry and chemical reactions. I know all up until this point we have been really working through a lot of physics and a lot of math and getting a lot of the concepts and the mathematical foundations. And now, what we are going to do is we are going to try to use these to understand reactions. And we are going to use these first in chapter 12 with understanding the thermodynamics, and then through chapters 13 and 14 to understand the kinetics of reactions. Okay, so this will seem really simple, but before we can go through this material, we have to agree upon what is a chemical reaction. And it turns out that there are a lot of processes that chemists work with and that are very interesting and we study that are not actually chemical reactions. So, the general definition of a chemical reaction is a process in which the nature of the chemical bonds within the system is altered. So, an example of this would be the combustion of methane to form CO2 and water. We are going to break the bonds of methane and oxygen, and we're going to reform the bonds in water and CO2. Another example of a reaction is cyclobutane breaking apart into butadiene. We have broken bonds, we've changed the nature of those bonds, and so we call this a reaction. Now, not reactions, we can have things like phase changes. We talked about these in the last chapter. Phase changes are not actually chemical reactions. Another is the dissolution of a salt, breaking up into ions, so dissolving. The ionic species as a solid really exists as those ions in close association to each other. And so whenever we break them apart, put them in solution, and make them solubilized, this is a physical change and not a chemical change. And so we do not call that a reaction. Processes like the dimerization of water, which basically is hydrogen bonding, while this process can be very strong and involve a lot of energy and is a very active area of research, it's not really considered a reaction. And then another one that has a lot of active research and a lot of interest and a lot of proper potential applications and reasons to study is the isomerization between things like cis and trans, R and S, those sorts of isomerization processes. We don't really call those reactions. Now, that doesn't mean that physical chemists don't study them and don't use the language and the tools of chemical reactions. But in a strict way of speaking, we don't consider those reactions. So many of these not reactions are sort of gray areas, especially when we get into these isomerization processes, that it's sort of a physical change, but also sort of a chemical change. And so these are sort of the gray area between is it a reaction or a pure physical change. And these sort of processes that are not reactions, they're very interesting. They have lots of applications, lots of uses, and there are many people studying them. A chapter of my PhD dissertation was about a cis-trans isomerization. And so these are things that are useful questions for us to ask, even though they are not reactions. So don't think that because they're not reactions that we don't study them, or that they're not interesting or they're not useful. It's just that we are going to really isolate ourselves into the realm of reactions where chemical bonds are changed. Okay, so during a chemical reaction, we've covered that the bonds change, but what else changes? Turns out lots of things change. So number one, the type of bonds, bond lengths, bond angles. So this is the geometry of our molecules involved, the electronic, vibrational, and rotational energy levels. So this is that sort of statistical mechanics. And remember that statistical mechanics, if I can spell, or that partition function, that Q, led us to all of the thermodynamic properties that we were talking about with expansions and compressions and phase changes. So if we're changing these fundamental properties, that means that the stat mech changes and that partition function changes. Therefore, all of the thermodynamics are going to change. Delta S, delta H, delta G, delta F, etc. Our CP, all of these things come out of that statistical mechanics. And so if we're changing the fundamental electronic, vibrational, and rotational properties of the species involved, then we should be expecting to start working with all of these things. Another key piece is that the potential energy of the system changes. And we're going to call potential energy, we're going to call it U, until we get some more precise language around what we exactly mean.